Hello everyone, welcome to this new lesson in the course. In this lesson, we're going to create this nice card hover effect. You can see we have this image and this text at the bottom says post title. And when we hover over the card, this effect happens where the title expands and takes up the full size of the card. And this paragraph and link appear below the title. The image also disappears. So let's start creating this effect. I will go here in my HTML and add a div. Give it a class of card. Then inside that, I will add another div. Give it a class of image box. So this will contain our image, but we will add that later. Then below that, I will add our content. I will add a div. Give it a class of content. Then inside that, I will add an h3 and say post title. Then a paragraph tag, and then some lorem ipsum dummy text, and finally an anchor tag. And say read more. Next, I will move to my CSS and target the div with the class of card. And add position, relative, width, 300 pixels, height, 400 pixels. Then I will add background color, black. And finally, box shadow. 0 pixels along the x-axis, then 30 pixels along the y-axis, so that we have some shadow below our card. Then a blur value of 30 pixels as well. Then the color of the shadow will be RGBA 0, 0, 0, and 0.5. And now you can see we have this card with a black background and some text shadow below it. Alright, let's work on styling the content so it looks how we want. I will go here and target the div with the class of content. Then I will add position, absolute to position it relatively to the card div. Then we want to position it at the bottom of the card, so we will add bottom, 0 pixels, then width, 80% of the card width, and height, just 80 pixels. Then I will add background color, white. So now you can see we have this white background that contains our heading and our paragraph, and it sits at the bottom corner of the card. Alright, let's center this white background horizontally. Since it has a width of 80% of the card width, this means that the remaining space right here is 20% of the card width. And if we shift the content to the right by 10% of the card width, there will be 10% space remaining on the left and 10% space remaining on the right. And this will center the content. So let's do that. I will go here and add left 10% to shift the content div to the right by 10%. As you can see, it's centered now. Alright, let's go back and continue working. I will add text align, center to center the text inside the content div. Then, finally, transition, 0.5 seconds. Alright, in order to see what we're doing, let's just make the height of the content div 100% instead of 80 pixels. Okay, let's style the elements inside the content div now. I will target the H3 and add font size, 30 pixels, text transform, uppercase, then margin, 25 pixels. All right, let's style the paragraph. I will target it and add width, 80% of the content width. Then margin, 10 pixels from top and bottom, and auto from left and right to center it horizontally. Then font size, 18 pixels, And finally, transition, 0.5 seconds. Cool. Now, let's target the anchor tag and add text decoration, none. Background color, black. Color, white. Then padding, 10 pixels from top and bottom and 15 pixels from left and right. Then display, inline block, margin top, 10 pixels. Then finally transition, 0.5 seconds. Alright, you can see there is not enough space, but this is because we set the width of the content to just 80% of the card div. But when we set it to 100%, our content div will look much better. So I will go back here inside the content div, and I will set the height back to 80 pixels again. And I will also add overflow, hidden, to hide the text outside of the 80 pixels of our content div. Cool! Now we want to make the content div expand and take up the full width and height of the card div when we hover over the card. So I will go here and say when we hover over the card, I will make some changes happen to the content div. I will set its height to 100% and its width to 100% as well. And now you can see when I hover over the card, the white background gets bigger and takes up the full size of the card div. But you can also see it's shifted to the left, and this is because we set its left property to 10% in order to center it horizontally, if you remember. So we can fix that easily by adding left 0% instead of 10%. And now you can see the white background fits in the card div perfectly and covers it up completely. Alright, let's add some final touches to this effect. We want the paragraph and the anchor tag to be visible and appear only when we hover over the card. So I will go inside both the paragraph and the link and set their opacity to 0. Then I will go right here and say, when hovering over the card, I will select the paragraph. I will also select the anchor tag with that. And I will add opacity, 1. Then transition delay, 0.5 seconds, so that it will take a little while before appearing. And now, when I go and hover over the card, you can see that the paragraph and the anchor tag appear after the white background fully shows up, giving us this cool effect. Alright, let's go ahead and add the image to this card. I will go back to my HTML, and here inside the div with the class of ImageBox, I will add our image. Then I will go back to my CSS and target the div with the class of ImageBox. Then I will add position, absolute, top, 0, left, 0 as well, then width, 100%, height, 100%, and finally transition, 0.5 seconds. Alright, let's style the image. I will target it and add width, 100%, height, 100% as well, then object fit, cover, and finally transition, 0.5 seconds. And now you can see the image is taking up the full size of its container and looking exactly the way we want. Alright, finally, when hovering over the card, we want the image to become transparent. So I will go here and say when hovering over the div with the class of card, I will select the image and add opacity 0. So that's it, everyone. You can see when we hover over the card, the image gradually becomes transparent, and now we have finished this cool looking card effect.